network securities. Okay, so how to configure Bastion, right? What is the Bastion? We will discuss about Bastion. So that is a console. Okay, Bastion console. Okay, how to troubleshoot monitoring and troubleshooting network connectivity. We will discuss all this. Okay. Okay. So Azure Virtual Network. Azure Virtual Networks. Okay. Azure VNets. What is Azure Virtual Network and Azure VNets? Right. When deploying a Azure Virtual Desktop environment, we require Azure Virtual Network VNets. Right. So VNets and subnets we require. So what is VNet? Allow resources to communicate securely between devices, between VMs, right? So for example, you have one subnet, okay, one VNet and another VNet. So some missions are in one subnet, okay, some missions are another subnet. So that we require a Azure Virtual Network and VNets, right? So filter the Azure Virtual Network site VNets will filter the traffic so that we will create some energy rules, inbound rules and outbound rules. So did you create Azure Virtual Networks? Anyone? No. So we will create, no problem. Okay. So we have a subscription. We will create the okay subscriptions. Okay. Azure Virtual Network. We require Azure Virtual Network and Azure Virtual Network service endpoints and VNet pairing, right? So we can deploy VMs on Azure Virtual Network, right? So that we need a Azure network. And endpoints, private endpoints, we will create a private endpoints to configure any SQL server or file server, so that we require a private endpoints. Okay. VNet, so that we require a site-to-site, so we can configure communication with on-premise to Azure network. So we can be configured using VPN, Azure private, okay, virtual private network site, and also site-to-site VPN, express routes, okay, NSG rules, NVA rules, network virtual appliance rules, and Azure firewalls. We use all these things to communicate with the so these all are filterings, these all are communication. So most of the environments they use Azure express routes to communicate with on-prem to Azure, right? Site to site VPN. Yeah. Okay. So route tables, some network team will configure all these things. We have no idea about border gateway protocol, okay, BGP. So to announce our IP address to outside of the network, checkpoint firewalls, they have some checkpoint firewalls, they configure, okay, BGP protocol, Azure VPN gateway, and Express, okay, gateway. So site to site VPN, we have multiple, okay, types of VPNs are available, site to site VPN and multi-site VPN, point to site VPN, and VNet to VNet connections, IPsec rules and VPN tunnel, they enable VPN tunnel and express routes, so private connection, right? So site to site VPN, right? Site to site VPN, they configure a VNet on Azure area VPN gateway, and they enable IP VPN tunnel to on-premise environment, right? So this will be taken care by network team, Azure team or network team. We have no idea about, of course. They have some lease lines, MPLS lines, so they configure everything. VPN gateway and Azure site to site VPN. Right? So site to site VPN, we can configure, okay, active passive and active. Right? Active standby. So two connections. So one is active. So if active is down automatically, so standby will be active. Or we can configure active so that both the tunnels are active. Okay. So which allows higher throughput, so that data will be throwing between two tunnels, right? VPN gateway tunnels.
Is that makes a difference in price?
Sorry.
Does that make a difference in price if you do active? Does it mean that's gonna be more expensive?
Expensive. Yes, expensive. So that is okay, by design by architect, right? So client will discuss under their design, okay, as per the requirement. For example, if it is a complicated environment, complex environment, definitely they allow active, right? That is what, okay. So most of the environments they use active standby, Chris, okay. To cost saving, they use only active standby. Big environments, large organizations or financial sectors, banking sectors, they may enable act. So banks, banks, they did not move to public cloud. Any Bank of America or JP Morgan and Wells Fargo, they are still into their own private data centers. They are having own private cloud, right? They cannot keep all these servers into public cloud, right? So enterprise environments like all automotive, healthcare organizations, telecom domains, so they all are into now we are coming to public cloud, right? Azure, AWS, or GCP. Clear? Financial sector still they're into their own on-premise environment. Now slowly they're moving to cloud. Non-critical servers, non-critical applications, right?
Yeah.
Okay, multi-site, so that if you create a VPN gateway, so that if you have multiple sites in multiple on-premise data centers, so that they can configure a multi-site connection. Okay, VPN connection network. So this allows multiple sites which typically on-premise. Okay, dynamic gateway, they configure dynamic gateway, so that multi-site VPN gateway they configure. Right? So even I have no idea, we do not configure. I'm clearly telling so that everything. So I told you, right? Resource group, VNets, subnets, okay? Everything will be configured by Azure Cloud Operations. They provide everything so that we do work on only host pools, okay? Azure Virtual Desktop, okay? Features. I'm explaining you overview of, okay, how site-to-site VPN and multi-site kind of thing. Clear, Puneet? Point-to-site VPN, so route-based, they configure route-based traffic point-to-site so that they can enable some routes, okay, so that it will configure backend the on-premise environment, route-based, right? And also VNet to VNet, okay, virtual network to virtual network. For example, you have two sites, right? One site is in West US, another site is in Australia East or Singapore, right? So that
Yeah.
they can configure VPN VIP using site to site, VNet to VNet connection. So one customer is having multiple sites, right? Multiple regions, multiple subscriptions. Okay. For example, let's say DR activity. All right. If one site is down, automatically we have to up the servers in another DR site. So we have to spin up missions immediately, and we have to add all AD users and groups to that application group so that they can access from Singapore location. Right, site to site VPN, multi-site connection configurations. They create IPsec tunnels. Sorry, we have no idea about IPsec tunnel. They allow in router IPsec tunnels. Clear? VNet to VNet communication. Okay, VNet peering, so that VNet pairing is a way connecting VNets without using network gateway. So we don't have any gateway IP, right? If you want to access any application, we need a public IP or URL, right? Gateway. But here we
Yeah.
don't have any gateway IP, so they do a VNet pairing. Okay, we don't use most of the environments, they use express routes. Okay, VNet pairing without any gateway IP address. So Microsoft backbone infrastructure too. So public network involved so that they configure. Okay, this is also West US to East US. Okay, instead of okay VNet to VNet connection, they're configuring VNet pairing. both the sides. Right? So express routes. So most of the environments they use express routes. I told you, right? It's a private, right? So that express route, private connection. So which means our data center to Azure environment, they create a express routes. Okay, express routes typically deployment option within the enterprise. The connection type enables extended or on-premise network to Azure, Microsoft Azure or a private connection. So VPNs, we cannot configure VPNs, right? It's too difficult, right? So something they enter ISP so that they involve ISP so that configure express routes. You know, right? How to create a route table. That I know how to create a route table, which means if you have two networks, okay, 192.16.10.31, and another one is 170.16.10. Okay, another 42. So different subnets. So we create a routes, then only we can ping from that subnet to this subnet, right? Like that. So they create a express routes, express route circuit. Okay, this will be
Yes,
yeah.
as expensive, isn't it?
Hmm.
More,
Expensive, expensive, right? So site to site and express route connections here. Okay. So here is the express routes and site to site. They configured everything, right? One moment. Okay. Stop now. So my screen is okay. So express routes as well as express routes, you can configure site-to-site VPN for secure failover path. Express routes, right? So that they can configure both sometimes. Okay, if one it is not working, they can use another express route failover path. Okay, so everywhere. So now see, we configure two servers, two application server. One server is down, users can able to access it from another server, right? So everywhere they configure. Okay, let me. Okay, they configure both express routes or site-to-site VPN. Okay. Implement and managing. So okay. Okay. Network security, implementing and managing network security. So we need a secure connection from Azure to public environment so that we require a secure connectivity. Okay. Azure's network security overview. So we configure Azure networking, network access controls, and Azure firewalls. Okay. Secure remote access, cross on-premise connectivity. Okay. Name resolution, DMGs, DNSs, we have to configure DNSs, and if any parameter requirement for DMZ zones, okay, DAS, okay, Daniel of service of protection, so that we can configure all these things, monitoring and threat detection. So we configure. So Microsoft offering these many features, right? Protecting our resources. So unauthorized access, every environment, right? We do get a intrusions, right? If you have a NetScaler gateway or something, someone will try to access in, okay, so that we will get an alert, okay, what IP they're accessing, if what the type, trying with some user ID, something, so that we do get, so that we can configure all these features, okay, to protect our environment, right? So understanding Azure Virtual Desktop networking. Here is the Azure Virtual Desktop networking connectivity, how users can connect, right? So first user authenticate to Azure AD. See first, okay, RD client, they can access RD client or web, right? Any mobile or device, laptop. So the connection will go to Azure Active Directory for authentication purpose, right? Azure Virtual Desktop Gateway checks the token, the Azure Virtual Desktop connection broker. So here is the gateway, so that it will check the web access, so that we have a web access, right? So Azure Virtual Gateway, it will check the connectivity. Then broker queries the Azure Virtual Desktop SQL database. So we do not manage SQL database metadata. We are not managing, right? So just we are managing, okay, host pools and applications, application publishing and user assignment groups. Everything will be managed by what is it? Azure, yeah, Azure itself. So it will go to SQL DB, so that if you configure everything, it will be stored in a metadata. How many host pools are there? How many active? How many disconnected state? Everything will be stored in a SQL DB. So that particular user, right? So for example, if the user is in from nurse group, okay. So it will verify that okay, how many, okay, whether applications are desktops. So it will fetch the data from SQL database, right? So SQL database. Then, okay, so it will publish all the icons to user browser, right? User browser. The Azure Virtual Desktop Gateway and our desktop broker through the session host to connect to the client. So gateway will establish a connection between, okay, user and so backend resources. Okay. Backend resources. The session host creates a reverse, okay, connection client by using Azure Virtual Desktop Gateway. So using Azure Virtual Desktop Gateway, so users can able to access applications or desktops. Okay, so we require TLS 1.2 Cypers, right? So Cyper suits, Cypers TLS 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, SSL 1.3. So many Cypers are there. What is TLS? Any idea? TLS, Transport Layer Security. Earlier used to use SSL, Secure Socket Layer, right? So due to proprietary issue, so now industry is using TLS. So SSL is the America Online Company proprietary protocol, SSL, America Online. Netscape browser and all, right? Used to use Netscape browser in 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Now we have Google Chrome and all these, right? Okay, Yahoo, Rediff Mail, and Netscape, right? Now they are owning that proprietary, so they are denying to use. That is why the industries, okay, developers developed another okay, protocol called TLS, Transport Layer Security. Okay, now we are using 1.2, so that we have to enable 1.2. Okay, ciphers. What is the use of ciphers? So this TLS 1.2 ciphers will be available in the user machine while connectivity, so that it will create a SSL handshake between backend or environment, backend server to our client environment, client browser, using these ciphers. Cipher condition is okay, then only it will create a connectivity between, a connection will be established between backend server to browser. Right? That is what we require a cipher suite. Okay. So reverse connector. So reverse connect means okay. So what do you say? Reverse connector. Okay. Reverse connect technology that removes the requirements of session hosts within the Azure Virtual Desktop. So inbound ports open, right? So by default, RDP port 3389. So doesn't have to open. So the connection will establish between backend servers to user using port 443. We don't require to open port 389 and all, right? If user is accessing Windows 10 desktop, it doesn't open in 3389. It should establish a connection between, okay, using port 443. Right? So we have to configure all settings into inbound rules, outbound rules. Okay. Service tags, right? So that service tags we can configure groups and service tags. So network, what do you call? Limit the control the, so if you create a network security groups so that we can limit the data. So which port do we need to open? So whether NI, yellow or deny, right? So that we use so network security groups and service tags. Okay, service tags, right? So here we configure NSG rules using layer 3 and layer 4 network security service, right? So that we can configure from layer 3, layer 4. So for the NSG security groups, so we have to open all these ports, these URLs, WVD, Microsoft.com. So we require all these URLs and port numbers to communicate with Azure Virtual Desktop from client Azure Cloud, right? So that we have to open all these ports. Otherwise, users cannot access, right? So Windows activation, for example, if you are what is it, activating your Windows 10 using your local KMS server, so that we require a 1.6 right? Automatically, when user power on that mission, automatically it will connect to the KMS server. It will activate Windows product key. Clear, everyone? So we need to allow all these ports to our NSG rule. So here we have to configure, go to here, just let me show you. Okay, just I'm clicking AVD NSG so that we have to allow inbound rules, outbound rules, we have to write. Okay, and so we have to add all the rules here. Okay, we will do later. Okay, so we have to enable all this agent traffic, everything should go through Citrix Cloud to Azure Cloud to Windows Virtual Desktop. Okay. So what is Azure Firewall? Why we require Azure Firewall, right? So Azure Firewalls are managed by Microsoft managing network security, so that what we have to enable, what we have to disable, right? So sometimes we can disable some traffic. Okay, so on-premise to Azure environment so that we can configure, right? High availability and scalability, and we have to configure so firewalls. So backend, and they configure some network team, they configure hub and spoke model or something like that. Okay, hub and spoke. Got it, right?
Yeah.
Hub and spoke.
Yeah.
So secure purpose, we do configure all Azure firewalls. Okay. Okay, Azure firewall premium. So that this is normal firewall. This is premium. So it is also important to note that. Okay, so premium version of they are offering advanced capabilities to configure. Okay, so that we have to spend more money. Okay.
Yeah.
VNet, WAN, so that they configure everything. So that TLS, IDPs, URL filtering, web categories, so many features are available. Most of the environments are Azure networks. Okay, some of the networks they are. So everything is what is it? Pricing, right? If you configure anything, so we have to pay money for cloud service.
Is it needed to have Azure firewalls or the AVDs?
Sorry?
Is it needed? Do we have to install Azure firewall while we're doing AVD or not?
No,
Because already we have network security rules, isn't there? For
network security rules we don't require. Okay, we don't require. If any front-end firewalls, everything will be managed by network team. We don't touch any firewall and all. Just we do create some NSG rules. Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Okay. So. Okay, Azure Firewall for application level protection. So application level protection also, we have Azure Firewalls, postful outbound access to the internet. Okay, network, virtual network virtual appliances. Okay, NVA, managing virtual desktop session host by using Bastion. So what is Bastion? So that we will discuss. Okay, Azure Firewall for application level protection. So we have to write some UDR rules, right? Okay, NSG rules, UDR rules, okay, based on our requirements, so that we have to write some URLs, okay, NAC rules, URLs. Okay, so if you want to activate Active Directory service, TCP UDP port 389, port DNS port 453, so we have to enable TCP 53, UDP 53, right? So that we have to configure all to communicate our DNS server to our desktops, so that we have to allow all this application level protection, right?
Yeah.
So, and also there may be need to enable secure outbound internet access to users. So in such scenarios, right, so that we have okay, list of allowed destinations defined, okay, source to destination, so that we will configure some okay outbound rules. See, like here I configured some outbound rules, inbound rules, outbound rules. By default, some rules will be okay created by Azure. So built-in rules. So we do not, so the already they are allowed, okay? Allow even at outbound total, which means 65,000, they are allowed everything, okay? Internet. If you want to configure some outbound rules, so that we have to configure here, okay? Okay. NVA rules. So what is the benefit of NVA? So standardization of organizational technology policies, so that we configure these NVA rules. We do not configure all these things. It is there. Features are there. Okay. If I take any mobile, right, we have a Wi-Fi calling in mobile, but we do not use. There is a feature they introduced late recently, right, in all mobiles, Wi-Fi calling. If you don't have a proper network, right, so signals, so that we can call using Wi-Fi calling feature kind of thing. So they implemented so many features. We do not use all these features. For example, if you have 10 features, so we do not use all the 10 features. Even one customer, they use only pooled desktops or what is it, personal desktop. They don't want to use remote apps based on their goal, right? So they define some goals. So only we are using AVD for only personal and pooled. We don't want to publish any applications. Okay, so all applications will be installed on local desktop. That is what. So we don't require any remote apps. So like this, so many features are there. Okay. So what is Bastion? Heard about Bastion? Anyone?
Yes.
Okay. What is the use of Bastion?
Is it
Okay.
for like PowerShell? Is it like a
No, no PowerShell. Okay.
no PowerShell?
No PowerShell. Okay. So let's see. Let me show you. Okay. I have another environment. Okay, let me connect. So we can take our mission into RDP, right? If you power on that mission, so that we can take a RDP, right? See, I took a RDP. This machine is not connecting, okay? So that how do we connect? So we have a VMware vSphere client, so that we will go there, okay? VMware vSphere client, okay? Launch, and we are taking a console, particular that machine console, right? Click here and go to here, select this console, right? In Gen server or vCenter, anything, so that we can take console, right? It is opening in a separate web what is it tab, so that we can log in and we can troubleshoot. But okay, Azure doesn't have kind of feature earlier, 10 years ago. So we don't have feature to troubleshoot using Azure console, Azure console, right? So when I was in Microsoft, if any machine is having issue, so that we have to download disk, okay, PHDX disk from Azure to SCCM console, okay, SCVMM console hypervisor. We have to create a machine, we have to attach and troubleshoot. Again, we have to upload that vdisk. Okay, it's a complicated, right? Here
Yeah.
we cannot take RDP. Now we have a RDP option also, but we don't have RDP, we have to download, right? So sometimes RDP may not work. So if you do not configure proper public IP, you cannot open, right? Open. So how to troubleshoot? That is what they introduced Bastion. Okay. So Bastion, so that we can access using Bastion with the local credentials. I'll show you. Okay. Let me power on this also. Okay. So we can access, okay, a server using browser. Okay, refresh. Sometimes, right, we are unable to connect this machine using RDP or some issue, or maybe network may disable. Sometimes we observe that network, right? So someone disable that network, we are unable to connect, right?
Yeah.
Here is the connect. Connect means we have a RDP, okay, so that we can download RDP file and we can connect. Okay, check outbound rules. Okay, what is the connecting or a VPN, so on, so on. So this is my public IP, so I configure. Okay, here is the bastion. If you click this bastion, so that here you have to enter local user ID password. Okay, if you want to troubleshoot or if you want to do something, so it is opening in a separate browser, right? Connection was successful. So it uses TLS protocol so that we can connect. For example, image, right? So we are creating an image. That image should not be in domain join, so that we have to what is that? Provision VM, login. We have to do installations, everything, and we have to do a sysprep and shutdown. So using Bastion. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so that we can connect Windows as well as secure shell to configure access the Bastion using port 443. Okay, clear everyone? So what is the use
Yeah.
of Bastion? So that first now we have to configure this Bastion. So already I have configured. Okay, how to configure Bastion? So it's a what is it? Chargeable. This is also chargeable, right? Okay, so Bastion is deployed in per network. So how to configure? So user is accessing through Azure portal. So already NSG rule is enabled. They can access server using Bastion. Clear everyone? RDP, SSH. Okay, Linux machines and Windows machines we can take using Bastion. So setting up Bastion, how to configure? Go to Azure portal and create resources. Okay, home and search for Bastion. So enter, create a Bastion page. Okay, so automatically it will come. Okay, Bastion it is already I have configured. Click here, Azure AVD VNet Bastion. So okay, already I have configured. Go how to configure another one. Okay, create a bastion here. If you click here, so that we have to add, okay, our subscription, okay, resource group, okay, bastion name, aged Azure. So that is what I'm giving proper naming convention, aged Azure AVD bastion central US. Okay, availability zones. Okay, if you want the zones, you select zone or otherwise untick. Okay, so select one zone. Okay, or none. We don't require any zones. None. Okay. Standard typo. Here is the basic, developer, and premium. So if you select these pieces, right? So we have to pay more. Okay. Okay. Instance count. How many instances do you take using Bastion? Right. So 2 or 3. So that we have to mention here. Okay. So by default 2. So 2 is enough, right? So 2 is there. Okay. Azure Virtual Network. Click here. Already we have a VNet. Okay. So that we have to select VNet and automatically it will, okay, display our subnet. Okay. Azure Bastion subnet. Okay. So that you can configure. Okay. Public IP address. Okay. Aged, if you want public IP address, so that create a public IP address, create new or existing. If you have existing, you have to select. Okay. So click next and create. Okay. So private bastion, we don't require all these things so that you can enable, disable once we configure. Create. It's creating, deploying. Okay, it's getting error subscription, so on. So bad request. Okay, deployment resource Azure delivery failed additional details from the underlying API. That might be helpful. At least one resource deployment operation failed. Deployment. Okay. Reference said resources are exist, both resources. Subnet. Okay. In subnet masked in referenced way, so on so. Subnet not yet selected properly. That is why it is failing. Okay. Resource exists both. Okay. Same reason.